JayDreamerZ welcomes you to the live stream.
Hey, what's up everybody, and welcome to today's video. We're going to be talking about the symbolism behind the white room and the symbolism behind the vector, specifically the red vector. And if you don't know what a vector is or what I'm talking about, you'll understand towards the middle of the video here. But the first thing we're going to talk about is we're going to separate it. We're going to talk about the white room first, and then we're going to talk about the vector. Now, let's start with the white room. The reason I wanted to talk about the white room is because it's symbolic. The symbolism is prolific throughout movies and television shows, even commercials, as I'll show you. I've got a few clips from some movies and commercials and stuff as well. But you'll always see this. You'll always see the white room symbolism. Usually it's known as like the infinite room, or the white void, the blank space, so to speak. And you see this all the time. And usually whenever you see the white room symbolism, you'll have like a person or maybe a couple of people, and they're in there all by themselves. The most famous example of this is the most popular example is in the movie The Matrix. When they first go into their program that they have to simulate the Matrix, it's all white, and it's just Neo and Morpheus, and they can pretty much manifest whatever they want within this white room. Give me a thumbs up if the audio and everything's okay. I know it's been a minute since I've been on here. And I do want to give a special shout out to Dr. Michael Miller, PhD, who's always helping out in the chat. So the white room, you'll see the example of the white room. Now, before we get into what the white room is and the symbolism behind it, I want you to ask yourself a question that you've probably asked yourself before. What does it look like inside of a black hole? A black hole is basically where all the light gets sucked in and light cannot escape it. So let's say that you were inside of a black hole. What exactly would it look like to you if all of the light were coming into a central point of focus, right? Would it look like a white room, I wonder, with all of the light, everything coming in all at once? Maybe you would look around and you would see nothing but white. So keep that in mind. It's going to play into energies, male and female energies, a little bit later on. And that's kind of how I imagine being in the middle of a black hole. It looks like a white room. And whenever we see the symbolism of the white room, especially in movies and television shows and stuff, I have found that it's always directly connected with the idea of artificial intelligence, or robots, or computers, things of that nature. Some examples. Let me just go ahead and pull up some examples here for us. There we go. Okay, so off to the side here, you're going to see the slideshow showing you many examples from popular culture of the white room itself. And like I said, typically when we see the white room, for example, this is from the Pirates of the Caribbean. This is Davy Jones' locker. This is where you go when you die, right? This is where the pirate went when he died. And this may account for when some people die, they see this white light at the end of this tunnel, right? And we're also going to talk about some of the other things like the black room that you see here as well. But when people die, they go into the light. They see this light. There's this sort of tunnel of pure white light. And I find that to be really interesting given the symbolism of the white room. Now, let me go ahead and pull up one more thing here. I don't know where the one more thing just went. Where did it go? Well, there was a little video, but that's okay. So anyway, the white room basically, for me, is symbolic of the inner workings of a supercomputer, or a super advanced program, or an infinite amount of information that is stored. What it is to me is its potential, essentially. It is a manifestation or a symbol of absolute potential, the potential for all things to exist. And it's all pulled in, and it's all in one area, one spot, which is what they call, or what I'm calling, the white room. The white room symbolism is an area of pure potential. I know that white typically symbolizes purity in itself. However, it's pure creativity. It's pure imagination. It's anything that you want it to be. And that's why whenever you see the white room on television and movies and things like that, typically you can manifest whatever you'd like to within the white room if you know how to do so, or other people can manifest things within the white room itself. Also, typically, as you can see over here, that's from the movie where he plays God, basically. But anyway, inside of the white room is all potential, all things that can be. Nothing has been created yet. So, I want you to stay with me. Where am I going with this, and what does it have to do with the world that we currently live in? Some people have referred to the white room as the void. It's just a void of nothingness, but it's not really nothingness. But it depends on your perspective. Are nothingness and everything one and the same? Are they equal? Are black and white one and the same, basically? We have to take polarity out of the equation. But some people refer to it as the void. Now, for me, this is interesting because in the Bible, in the book of Genesis at the beginning, it kind of gives reference to this idea of the void itself, of nothingness. Well, we know that you can't have something come out of something that's nothing. You can't have something come out of nothing. Therefore, my question is the nothingness, is the empty void not empty whatsoever, but it's absolutely filled up with all of this potential, with all of this potential energy and manifestations that have not been manifest yet, but they're on the verge. They're right there waiting. You'll also notice in a lot of these pictures that I pulled up for the examples that typically the people who are portrayed within the white room are wearing black. There's a lot of symbolism to this as well. The black characters, the characters in black, the man in black, if you're a Westworld fan, the Grim Reaper, all these types of people, they're typically shown as wearing black when inside of the white room, and there's a reason for that. And we'll get into that as well. As you can see over here, we've got the white room and the vector as well, the V for the vector. Welcome, Real Deal. Now, the white room symbolizes infinite and all potential for all energy, all manifestations. It's pure creativity is what it is. Now, inside of the white room, let's think about this for a moment as far as properties of light, right? Properties of light, if you have the color white, right, that means that all colors are combined and they have not been separated. When you mix all colors in the light spectrum, you get white light. And so if you're inside of a room that is pure white everywhere you look, that indicates to me that all of the colors, all of the energy, all of the vectors, which we'll get into in a moment, are coming inward. They're coming at you, like the example of the black hole that I was talking about. All of the light is coming inward. And you can exchange the word light for information. You can exchange it for energy. All of the energy, all of the light, it's all focused internally and has not been released outward, right? So if you're inside of this room and it's all white everywhere, you have this infinite, endless white void, that means that you're seeing everything coming at you. All of these energy and light, it's all focused into one spot. One point of focus. Now, let's say it was the opposite of that. Let's say that you were in a room and all of the energy, all of that potential was being released. It was being put out. Well, then your room would be dark because there would be no light. You have given away all of the light that's within that room, and you would essentially be left with a black room. Now, let's think about this. Let's go back to the white room, right? A room is a cube. It's a cube shape. The white room is essentially the white cube. Now, if you're on the inside of the white cube and all of the light is coming inward, all of the energy is coming inward and directed at you, and you're within it and experiencing all of the energy that's coming in, It's an influx of light and energy. What does that cube look like to those on the outside? It would be a black cube. It would simply look like a black hole or a void. It would be a black cube on the outside, but on the inside, it would be a white room. I tied this in directly with my studies on the black cube, and its ties to Saturn symbolism, Kronos, the god of time and space, or at least time. And they're interrelated, they're interconnected. As you can see, a lot of these pictures that I'm showing, they are from movies or things like that that have some sort of connection to robots, advanced artificial intelligence. Now, how do we tie in and tie together the white room on the inside, or the white cube on the inside, the black cube on the outside, super advanced artificial intelligence, all into one? Well, I don't know if you've seen the supercomputers that we have today. They are black cubes. And this is one of my ideas that I have for why the black monolith and the black cubes are prevalent also within the symbolism in our popular culture today. It's all over the place. So let's think about this. The white cube is the white room. On the inside, it's potential, it's all of the light, it's all of the energy focused, it has not been released. This is a female energy. This is a female attribute. It is the quality of potential creativity from the feminine energy that pulls inwards. The outward, the outpouring of it, is more the masculine. Correct me if I'm wrong. I believe that that's the way that works. And I want to think about dimensions for just a quick moment. The white room. A lot of times I talk about Illuminati symbolism and the symbolism that the world elite and the rulers use all over the place. What do these symbols mean? I want to caution everyone from demonizing all of these symbols. For example, the symbol I'm going to talk about is the checkerboard, the black and white checkerboard, right? We see this all over the place. And typically when I watch YouTube videos, and they're conspiracy minded or truth channels and stuff, and they point out the checkerboard, they're quick to say, look, Illuminati checkerboard, you know, it's the Illuminati, it's bad. It doesn't mean that it's bad. It just simply is. It's containing a truth within it that is to be known and revealed and applied by those with the desire to do so. And they can apply that energy however they would like to, selfishly or selflessly, right? However they would like to do it. It doesn't make the symbol of the checkerboard Illuminati and immediately bad. It's just a symbol of something greater in and of itself. I also talk about this one too from Coraline. That one's really interesting. That's going to get more into, as you can see, there's the white room and there's the spider queen. The spider queen is something I'll be talking about in upcoming videos. But I want you to think about the checkerboard, right? Two-dimensionally, we have a square. The white room is the white square. Well, on the outside of that white square, if you think three-dimensionally, are the sides to the cube. On the outside, they would be black, like I was saying. So if you unfold this box, on the inside it's white. On the outside you have the black, on the inside you have the white. So you have this sort of checkerboard concept going on. Three-dimensionally, we have blocks or cubes that would be stacked one on top of another, interchanging the cycle of exhale and inhale, of putting out energy and pulling in energy. It's this beautiful cycle of basically breathing, of in and out. It's the cycle of all things, to take in and to push out, the white and the black. And that's three-dimensionally. We have blocks or cubes stacked on top of one another. And that reminds me of the movie Cube, which I do want to talk about here in a moment as well. But let's go from three-dimensional, which are the stacking of cubes, to fourth-dimensional, or it might even be fifth-dimensional. That would be the tesseract. Now, the tesseract is a higher dimensional version of the cubes stacked up one upon each other. And all of this is directly related to our reality, or what we recognize, our perception of reality, the world that we live in, the world that we have come to call home and real and what we're familiar with, right? And so whenever you see the black and white checkerboard floor, think of the white room and the black cube as well. And think of the energies that they represent. Also, whenever you see people wearing white or wearing black, you know, white does not automatically imply purity and innocence, even though we've given it those attributes. Black does not imply evil or bad or, you know, away from other people or whatnot. Now, I talked about the movie The Cube. There's a movie out there called The Cube. It's on Netflix. You can check it out. And I watched it the other day for the first time. Inside of these cubes, there are all these cubes stacked together. And it's sort of a horror flick. And inside of each one of these cubes, they go from cube to cube that are all stacked on top of each other. And these people are trying to find their way out of the cube, right? And there's danger, and there's peril, and they're learning about one another all throughout the movie. While they are within the cube, they're fighting all of these, there are all of these obstacles that they need to overcome. Now, whenever they get to the end and they escape this horror cube thing that's designed to kill everybody, basically, the main character who survives, he walks into this pure white room. So he goes from this land of trial and error and relationship and life and death, and he walks into the pure endless void of this white room. Now, it's also interesting to me that the character who survives was the least likely of all of the characters. He was mentally handicapped, he was very innocent in his purity, and he was able to survive all of the tests and enter into the white room. Some people might have some religious connotations going on in their minds right now, but that's kind of where that comes from. Now, let's go ahead and move on to the vector. I want to talk about the vector as well. And at the end of the video, when we're done, I'll go ahead and open it up for questions and answers in the chat. So if you have any questions or thoughts about the white room or the red vector, we'll go ahead and we'll address those, and I'll jump in the chat after the vector portion of our video. So let's go ahead and talk about the red vector. And when I say vector, basically I'm talking about the letter V, or this shape, okay? This shape right here. And it's got varying degrees, and the elites of the world and those who use this, they can play with it, okay? It doesn't always have to be the exact same, and sometimes it's hidden and it's there for you to find. So, what is a vector? Technically, a vector is like a straight line with an arrow at the end of it. That's how you would draw a vector. A vector indicates that something has substance to it and motion to it, essentially. And that's a vector. Now, a vector is, these vectors, the V, is not just a straight line with an arrow. That's not really how it's drawn. Our vectors that we see are the letter V, essentially. Sometimes they'll disguise it, like in the Samsung. I put the Samsung logo up there. But sometimes the vector will be disguised as an A, except for it won't have the little bridge in the middle. And you're supposed to assume that it's an A, when in reality, it's not. It's a vector that's been turned upside down, or it's the letter V. Now, bear with me, because I've gone over the vector, I've gone over this in many videos, and I've broken down the symbolism and the etymology behind this. And I'm going to give you the Cliff's Notes version of it right now and tell you why it's so important as a logo or a symbol for a particular group of people. The vector is the V. The letter V represents the letter Vav in Hebrew. And Vav is the 6th letter in the Hebrew alphabet and the Phoenician alphabet. The Phoenician is more what I lean towards as far as my studies on words and letters and things like that. But it's the 6th letter, and therefore the V represents numerically the number 6. So they're one and the same, okay? The number 6 and the letter V. Now, the number 6, we've gone over, and I'm sure you guys can give all kinds of wonderful examples in the chat of what the number 6 represents. There's the upside down vector in Samsung there. And I only pulled up a few examples. There's many examples of this. And once you realize it, once you take it in, you'll be able to spot it. You'll be able to see it all over the place in your daily life. You see, these are things that are applicable if you choose to use them in the life that you live in now. There is so much to be seen in our world today that is just hidden from us. We have blinded ourselves to these things. And this is a part of the fun, for me at least. So, the vector is the letter V. The letter V is the Vav, or the number 6 as well. The further back you go, the vector, or the letter V, was a picture. That picture was a hook. Okay? It was a tent peg. It was something that you would hit into the ground and attach one thing to another. It meant attachment. It meant to be attached to or of something. Okay? You're attached to it. Now, this tent peg, or this hook, evolved over the years. As you can see in the Nike symbol there, that swoosh is not a swoosh at all. That swoosh is a sickle. It is a hook. Just like Captain Hook or Maui from Moana, or Death, you know, the character Death, the Grim Reaper, he always has that sickle. Where does that come from? Well, if you followed along on my Titan videos, you understand the story of the ancient Titans. And there was one Titan by the name of Kronos. Kronos, also known as Saturn, is the god of time. And his symbol is this sickle, or this hook, or this vector, or upsilon, or there are many names for it, okay? But the picture for it is the important thing. It's the hook, basically. Now, Kronos had this hook made for him in order to castrate this even bigger Titan, whose name is Uranu, or Uranus, if you're unfamiliar with how to properly pronounce it. And what happened is he was given the hook to go castrate Uranus and therefore claim victory for the gods, or for the Titans who rebelled against their father. Okay, and this is very important in the timeline of our history. Our history has been suppressed and it has been hidden from us, and that's why we don't understand all of these symbols. We don't know what they harken back to. We don't know what they represent, or what they mean, or what energy is behind that. The vector is the hook. The hook is the symbol for victory, meaning we have defeated our fathers. We have rebelled against them, and we have gone our own way. We have reclaimed our own path in our own lives. Now, this is why the vector is deviant from... Remember I said that the vector is a line with an arrow. That's all you need to draw a vector. The V is different. That would be two vectors, essentially. It implies a change of direction. You're going one direction, and then you stop on that path, you deviate, and you take a different path. Now, this is important because of our history and the history of the world, right? Okay, let me just be blunt. It represents the angels, or the angles, right? An angle. An angle is, you create an angle anytime you deviate from the original path. You create a vector. You create an angle, or an alternate vector, I should say. But it represents an angle, same thing as the word angel. The angels, the fallen angels, the Nephilim, those who fell from the original path, they deviated, they are divergent, they have taken their own path and gone their own way. Now, don't get me wrong, I'm not taking sides, and I'm not claiming any polarity in the subject and saying that one is good and one is bad. I'm just giving you the information as it exists. So the vector represents the letter Vav, or the number 6, and it also represents the hook. The hook is also prevalent throughout our culture as well. I've given you some examples already. Basically, it's the hook of Kronos, or Saturn. And Saturn was the god of the Golden Age. He was the one who was basically in charge during the Golden Age. And I mean the real Golden Age, the one that's been hidden from humanity, not the Enlightenment, not ancient Samaria. I'm talking about far, far back into a time in history that has been erased from our history books and delegated to myth and legend and fantasy and fairy tales. Those things are real and have been real and are the foundation for our world today. A world of magic, a world of mystery, a world of excitement, and a choose your own adventure type of story. Now, I'm going to tie that in to the White Room here in a bit. But let's continue on with the vector, especially the red vector. It's the symbol of victory. V for victory, right? Victor, the name, and victory, they mean to triumph, to win, to be the winners. And basically that is the logo. So the aliens, okay, or the elven race, as I refer to them, the gods, the angels, etc., and so on and so forth, their symbol, one of the symbols they use to represent themselves and those who are of themselves or their lineage or their family history or their family line, they have this logo, which is the V, claiming victory and reminding we are the victorious, we are the winners, we are the ones with the hook, with the weapon of power. We have taken down those who were above us. We are the angles. We are the ones who have deviated. We are divergent. And that's why they use this symbol of the vector. Now, sometimes it's up, sometimes it's down. You know, they can make the V in different ways. Typically, if the V is pointing up, it represents a masculine quality, masculine energy. Masculine energy is energy that puts out and goes out and has action. Feminine energy takes in and it pulls in towards it, and it's meditative in its state. Feminine energy is the potential, and masculine energy is the manifest and the actual. Now relate that to the White Room as far as the energies coming in, the White Room, and the energies going out, the Black Room, right? Now, the further back you go, the V or the vector or the Vav, right? It was drawn as a picture, like I said. Now that picture was basically drawn as the letter Y, right? And it looks exactly like the flux capacitor. For those of you who have ever seen Back to the Future, it's just a line that goes straight up or straight down and two lines on the top. It's a Y. And that's why you'll also see the letter Y drawn just like that, used in a lot of the symbolism as well. There are many different ways to draw these symbols. They don't have to stick to one particular way, okay? The vector doesn't have to be red. It can be other colors, it can look different, but the vector itself, the V, that symbol represents the hook, it represents the sickle of Kronos and the weapon of victory. It also means attached to, like I said. So, while serving one purpose, which is symbolic of victory, right? Or in the movie V for Vendetta, victory is really revenge, right? It's taking your seat of power away from those who already have the power. So, we've got the Y, the flux capacitor. It's the same thing. And the flux capacitor is the thing that makes time travel possible. It's the thing that powers the time machine of the DeLorean and Back to the Future. And like I said, they chose that shape because it's directly related to Kronos. That's his weapon, who is the god of time. Time is the time machine, right? It's all interrelated symbolism, and it all makes perfect sense when you gain more information about it. Now, some other vectors that we're popular with, that we understand, are like the peace sign. Why do we throw up the peace sign, you know? These are things, see, this is the wonderful thing about life. We get to ask questions. We get to inquire. We get to have eyes like children that grow this big and see the world brand new and amazing and larger than life. All you have to do is look into it. If you look for it, it's right there to be found. The reason that we throw up the peace sign, this really has nothing to do with peace. This right here is the vector. It's the letter V. It's the Vav. This is saying, I am of whatever you are of. I am attached to whatever you are attached to. Now, the elites of the world, they are attached to the gods. Their authority, supposedly, is handed down to them through their lineage. They are part God. They have they have elven blood in their DNA, or more elven blood in their DNA than others, I should say, which could account for the red color in the vector. Like I said, it's not always red, but when it is a red vector like that, red represents blood, so it could be the family lineage, the bloodline, saying, I am attached to the gods through my blood. I am of the gods. I am of the El or the Elohim or the elven race. So whenever you go like that, you're saying, hey, I'm on your side. Peace, man. I am of the gods. I'm of the family. You know what I mean? That's basically what that is. Same thing with Dr. Spock, the Vulcans, right? I broke down the word Vulcans in other videos, but if you need to remind you, I will. But the Vulcans, they do the same thing. This is just a V. That's all it is. It's the V, which means I am of the gods, which means peace. I'm not here. I'm not against you, basically. So we've got the hand signs, which actually this is the original, and they just broke it into that right there. And then the color red also. The color red represents the root chakra, the base chakra. Now, I talk about baseness in my videos quite often, more often in the last couple months than I normally do. But the base chakra, when I say bass, a lot of people relate that to music, right? The deep tones and the huge waves of energy that come in, the bassness. And dimensionally speaking, or speaking of density, bass is at the bottom. It's the thickest, it's the hardest, it's the most physical, it's very base, okay? The base chakra is the root of that. It is attaching the rest of your chakras to the base element. It's essentially responsible for grounding yourself. Now, the base chakra, or the red chakra, is also responsible for basic survival instincts: to eat, to breathe, to live, to stay safe, to stay alive, etc. Now, along with those concepts comes the idea of fear and anxiety and stress and worry and things like that, because ultimately that goes hand in hand with trying to survive, right? Now, do the world rulers, do the elites of our world, the people in charge right now, are they associated with things like fear and anxiety and stress and things like that? I think so. Do you see how all of these things are connected? All of these symbols, everything in the world is all connected. What's fun is when you walk on your path, you can take one breadcrumb, you can take one puzzle piece, and sometimes you'll find another one that matches perfectly. Ultimately, they all match. Every piece is a piece of the puzzle. It's a piece of the bigger picture that exists, of what we would call reality, or even beyond reality, things that are hyper real, things that we are yet unaware of. And so I find fun in sharing these things and helping you to be more aware of them. So that is the red vector, and you'll see the vector. This one down below me, by the way, this was an introduction. I think this was the introduction. I pulled it from BFG, the Big Friendly Giant, right? And typically, you see, when I go to the movies, I like to get there early because I want to watch the previews. But I also like to see who's responsible for the production of the film and what sort of a big deal they put into things like that, right? Like, this film is brought to you, the production company, and this is huge dramatic deal, and they use the red vector. This one is upside down. That indicates more of a feminine energy as opposed to the masculine energy. You will also see the vectors, or the V in the symbolism, being put together, like in the square and the compass for the Illuminati. One is feminine and the other one is masculine, and when they put one on top of another, they represent the balance between the two, or the harmony, or the combining of the feminine energy and the masculine energy. Please keep in mind, it has absolutely nothing to do with transgenders or anything like that. It's not physical. It's not sexual in how we're used to things being sexual. It's energetic. It's all energetic. And these are symbols that let us know what the energy is comprised of, what direction it's going in, so that we can use it, so that we can see where it's going. It's like knowing where your bus is going. You want to get on the right bus to wherever you would like to go. Therefore, you need to use the appropriate energies in order to get there that much easier or that much quicker and have a better day for yourself. But anyhow, that's basically what I wanted to talk about when it comes to the white room and the red vector. As far as the vector goes, I'm going to pull up Wikipedia and we're going to do some screen sharing because Wikipedia has a lot of really interesting stuff about the vector itself. So let me go ahead and pull this up here. One moment. Now, where did I put that? Is it this one? Yes, it is. Okay, so let's go ahead and screen share here. Okay, so this is Wikipedia. Let me get it pulled up on my side. And we are under vector. If you're on a computer, you can follow along as well. Under Wikipedia, and Wikipedia is not my main source of information or anything, but everything is useful. Everything. If you would like to use it for something, it becomes useful. So I'm using it. So vector in Wikipedia. So in the realm of biology, the vector is an organism that transmits a pathogen from reservoir to host. Now keep in mind the world rulers, keep in mind the elite, keep in mind all of the energies going out and coming in. Keep in mind yourself and how these qualities may pertain to you as well. The vector in molecular biology, a vehicle used to transfer genetic material to a target cell. Now, here's a really interesting one. Cloning vector. Whoops. Okay, I didn't mean to click on that. All right, cloning vector. A small piece of DNA that can be stably maintained in an organism for cloning. Vectors are used in cloning. There's the expression vector. There's the shuttle vector, viral vector, and so on and so forth. Now, in a different category, we've got business. We've got all these examples of vector in businesses. We're just going to skip that one. I'm not a real big business person. Computer science. Here we go. A one-dimensional array. You've got C++, which is a sort of computer language that you type in. It's a code that you type in so that the code is decoded and then you get the outcome, right? Video games use code. What you're seeing on the screen is the outcome from the video game, but they're using vectors and codes in order to present that reality. Vector is also skin or the default website layout. That's interesting. Don't we have skin as well? As I talk about these things and as I talk about specifically the white room being the inside of some sort of a holographic supercomputer, advanced intelligence type of deal, right? And it doesn't have to be robotic. It can be energetic because ultimately all things are energetic. Now, think about the comparison between robots or computers and human beings. Like I said, vector right there means skin. Well, don't we have skins? Don't we have little avatars that we put on? Clearly, all of you know that you are not your skin. You know that this is just a covering. You know that you reside on the inside and that internally you're also still connected and you're not separate. The skin gives you the illusion of being separate from other things, right? So anyhow, computers sleep, computers die, and basically it's the exact same terminology that we use for the computing world as we do for the human world, which I find to be very interesting. So let me go back to Wikipedia here. Vector, we've got malware, skin, etc. Oh, there's a dope vector. That's funny. That must be the cool vector. Okay, let's move on. Characters and fictional elements. So these are just various examples of the vector being used. As you can see, there are many of them. The vector pops up time and time and time again. Video games, the vector in music. That reminds me also, I wanted to do the introduction with the White Room song by Cream, but because of copyright issues, I cannot. But that's the song that goes, "In the white room with black curtains." And I encourage you, by the way, while I'm on the topic of songs, read the lyrics to the songs that you listen to. That way you have a better idea of what it is that you're chanting. Mathematics. We've got the vector in mathematics. Remember how I said the vector mathematically is written out as a line with an arrow. Now, the line with the arrow, when it diverges from that path, becomes the V, or the vector shape that we're talking about. You've got the Euclidean vector, a geometric object that has a magnitude, which means length, it's got substance to it, and direction. That's all you need to make a vector. Vector field. There's vehicles. What else do I want to share with you guys? I think that was about it. But feel free to check that out whenever you have time. Let's get rid of this screen share here. Oh, there we go. Media. What is this? Oh, that's the video I was going to share with you guys. So anyhow, I'll leave that one up there. And we're going to go ahead and jump into questions and answers. If you think of a question, just type in @JayDreamerZ, and we'll spend a few minutes here going over questions and answers. While we do that and you guys think of your questions, I just want to let everyone know that I am back. I took a short break. I had a few family emergencies happen, and I've also been working on a lot of internal, energetic things in my own existence and my own path. It's good for us to take a break every once in a while to meditate, to re-examine, because let's admit it, it's a really interesting place we live in. It's full of distractions. And it's full of the distractions that are perfectly tailored for you as an individual, right? You create your own distractions for yourself. So it's good for you to mentally be aware, because subconsciously we're distracted, really. The distractions come out of nowhere seemingly, but in reality we're bringing those distractions into our own lives. So bring peace into your own life. Take a break. Take a moment. Meditate. That's what I've been doing for the past month. But I'm back now, and we're going to keep doing live streams, and everything's going to be keep continuing on the way that it has. I'm opening up to questions and answers right now. So if you have a question, go ahead and type @JayDreamerZ. Let me go ahead and give some shout outs to the people in the chat too. We've got G33, Authentic Intent, Sydney City, Vash Off the Wall, Vanished, Spill a Little Tea. That's funny. Oh, so by the way, in case you're wondering, the video right below me, it's a Got Milk commercial from when I was a kid growing up, and I remembered it because I remembered all of the whiteness all the way around it. And the interesting dilemma is this guy ends up in this all-white room when he dies. Remember, I said that when people die, they go into this white light, or they see this tunnel that leads to this just pure white light. Could that be returning to the source? The source code, the source file, the origin, the white room, the room of all potential, where you're leaving the world of the manifest. You're leaving the world of light separated and energy separated, and you're returning to a place of oneness, of unification and unitedness. Okay, so Savannah Lee in the chat says, JayDreamerZ, how do you spell your email? Savannah, let's see here, my email. You see, I kind of deleted my email because I was getting a lot of spam. So I don't really want a bunch more spam. I'm not saying you'll spam me, but if I give out my email, only my patrons really have access to my personal email. But I'll give you a hint. If you click on the PayPal link, you don't have to use it or anything, but it'll give you my email, and you can have access to it there. Nessian Kershaw says, JayDreamerZ, glad to see you back. I'm glad to be back, and I love doing this. I love studying. I love sharing my path with you guys, and hopefully I present something that you can walk away with and go, wow, that's interesting. I'll remember that, Or maybe something that is applicable in your daily life. Things that will help you to at least see the world a little bit different. So maybe you can get excited about life. Maybe you can look at all of the average, regular, mundane things in the world that don't have much value, much excitement in and of themselves. But when you pull off the curtain, when you pull back that veil, you can see the magic everywhere. You can see the meaning behind things and the energy behind all of these things. By the way, which is connected to you. There is personal implication to all of these things that I'm talking about, but those personal revelations are up to you to see them in your own life. Let's see, we've got... Oh, let me get back to the questions here, sorry. Blickeroni says, JayDreamerZ, what do you think about cars? I've been observing them a lot recently, and I'm wondering what they've actually been inspired by. What were they? Well, a lot of the cars, we call them cars, they're vehicles that are designed to get people from one place to another extremely quickly. Well, in the old world, the only thing that could do that is a horse. So once we started emulating the technology of the gods or the El or the Elven race, we started naming all of our cars after the gods. We paid homage to our fathers or our forefathers, our creators. And we said that this is a vehicle like unto that the gods had. They had vehicles that can zip back and forth and take you from one place to another. Pardon me. I also think about cars and stuff like that all the time. Good question, Blickeroni. Oh, that was actually one of the first questions. Okay, so let me catch up here. Dennis L says, Saturn equals Satan? Yes, Saturn does equal Satan. Now, Satan, the short version is yes, Saturn equals Satan. But it does not equate Saturn with the characterization and the cartoonifying of who we would refer to as Satan. Okay, but essentially, yes, the short answer, they are one and the same. Candy Jones says, JayDreamerZ, when are you going to decode songs again? You know, that's something I'll probably do from time to time when inspiration strikes. Typically, I'll be cleaning up my house and I'm listening to music and I'm processing the song and I'm watching the video. So sometimes I break down music videos. One of these days, I may start a secondary YouTube channel where all I do is break down the symbolism. I've been calling it Secrets of Symbolism, or SOS, where I break down the symbolism that exists within movies and music videos. So I do that from time to time. I don't know when the next time I'll be doing it is, though. I tend to be kind of spontaneous. Vash Off the Wall says, JayDreamerZ, I wanted to email you a few breadcrumbs to pick your brain. Is there an email? Yes, and I've answered that one. J Street says, what up, Little Bird? Hey, Little Bird. Little Bird says, what do you think of the false light trap when we die? Is it dragging us back into the Matrix? That's a great question. This is something that I have also studied. And I've tied it in with the Saturn moon matrix. The moon, now think about this. The moon is its own light, and it emits this very bright white light. White light is coming from the moon. So what does it look like if you're inside of the moon? Would it be white or would it be black? You know? And by the way, that's the other thing I forgot to talk about. I forgot to talk about the black room. So I'll talk about that after these questions real quick. But what do I think about it being a trap, going into the white light? Here's what I can tell you. There are no real traps, okay? I know that we've been conditioned to think that the genies and Satan and the jinn and all the demons and Loki and everyone, that they're all out to manipulate and to trick us, and that we have no control because, you know, we didn't know any better, okay? I believe that we have all control. Now, there's an understanding to be had with that, but essentially, you're in control. There are things that you don't know right now in this manifestation, in this avatar that you have right now. You do know them, but you have cut yourself off from the information to make it more fun, basically, to make it more appealing. It's a part of your character. It's a part of your game. Now, when you leave this character, you're not going to take all of this limited knowledge, the limited mindset, your limited experience. You're going to return. You're going to go back, and you have a say in what you do. You direct your own path. Everybody does. That's what I believe. And that's what I lean towards. I'm inclined to believe that. I don't believe that there are other beings who can absolutely control, but they have to have permission to control. They can influence, they can recommend, they can suggest, but ultimately it's up to you. Now, let's say that you pass away and you end up in some darker area and there's a light with a tunnel with a light at the end, and there's somebody there and they're like, come on, let's go to the light. You have the ability to take your time, to ask questions, to reason things out. If I was you, I would take a lot of time, because I believe that it's a process in returning to the source. It's a process to returning to your higher self. You don't just die and you instantly wake up and you're your higher self. It's like getting dressed and getting undressed. It takes time, and you go piece by piece. I hope that helps to answer your question, little bird. Vanilla Sky says, JayDreamerZ, I came in late, but I will rewatch. I wanted to thank you for your work. You're very welcome, Vanilla Sky, which also is a great movie, by the way. By the way, the Vanilla Sky movie is directly related to The White Room, right? That whole movie, Tom Cruise, his existence, his reality is a construct, just like in The Matrix. In The Matrix, the White Room is known as the construct, a construction, a place to build things, a place to manifest things, right? It's pure creativity. It's the arena of thought, pure thought. And thought is what creates, right? We have latent thought. We have potential thought. We have thoughts that are meditated upon, and then thoughts that are put out into the world, and they become actual. It's called magic. And if you read the Emerald Tablets of Thoth, or Thought, right? He talks about the ancient of the ancients and how they made the worlds come into being, and they did it by thinking. They did it by their thought. Not so much electrical currents in the brain, but a focus, a mental focus on a substance, on an idea, on an emotion, on a vibration, and it manifests itself. All of your thoughts are substance, okay? They exist physically and non-physically at the same time. Your thoughts are very powerful. Your thoughts are not private as well. I might as well talk about that, okay? Your thoughts are not your own secret little thoughts, okay? Thoughts can be easily read, okay? I want to make that very clear. Thoughts are 100% easily read. It's not hard to read a person's mind. Now, there are things you can do to practice veiling your thoughts from other people, and I'll go ahead and share one example. Don't think in words. Oh, I can't stress that enough. Don't think in words. If you hear words, if you hear like a narrator in your own mind and it has your voice, try your hardest to stop thinking with words and start thinking with emotion and colors and energy and pictures and feeling. If you start thinking along those lines, those become immensely more difficult to pick up on and to read. Those who are similarly linked, those of similar minds, are able to pick up on that because you'll be able to share it with them. Those who are not of similar minds will experience a disconnect. So I hope that will help you out as far as a tool you can implement to keep people from reading your minds. But I feel like I'm getting a little off topic right now. So let's get back to the questions and answers and we'll wrap things up. I also had a donation come in through the super chat. Jama Barker donated $10. Thank you so much, Jama. Everything means a lot to me, sir. So I really appreciate that. Thank you sincerely. Let's get back to some of these questions and then we'll wrap up our video for today. All right, we got Blickeroni. I answered that one. Gemma Barker says, I agree. And I think that was it. Okay, so these are things to ponder on, okay? Now, I want to go back to the black room and the white room for just a moment. If the white room, if it were some sort of the inside of a supercomputer, which is a really horrible description, okay? But it's a super energy. It's a super spider web. Okay, that is connecting and touching all the other webs inside of it. Where does that put us? Are we on the inside where things are manifest, where there is some sort of, we can create whatever we want to create? Or are we on the outside? Or are we in a black room? Are we in a white room? Or are we in a black room? That's the question I will leave for you to ponder on. But just keep in mind the different areas that we've gone over. The white room pulls in the light. So when you're within the white room, you have all of the potential energy for anything to manifest, right? Manifested goes outwards. It's the male energy that goes out. And the black room, I also wanted to just touch on real quick, because there are a couple of significant symbols, especially in movies. Hold on, let me get rid of this little Got Milk commercial. There we go. Okay, cool. Okay, so the black room. Now, when the white room is portrayed in movies and television, it's portrayed as being basically potential energy. You can manifest whatever you would like to. It's just pure creativity. Anything can exist and anything can come into existence within the white room, okay? And by the way, if you want to see a wonderful, wonderful example of the white room and also time differential, I did a video on time differential, and I highly recommend going and finding it and checking it out. And Vash, I'll get to you in just a second here. So the white room, in the black room, right? I've got three main examples, right? The first one that comes to mind is Stranger Things. In the television miniseries Stranger Things, there is this girl. Interestingly enough, her name is El, right? She represents the gods, the ruling class, the Elohim, etc. I talk about that all the time. El goes into this meditative trance. She is remote viewing, basically, which absolutely exists, okay? All of the things that were practiced at Montauk, MK Ultra, all of these things, the metaphysical, they all exist. And these are all things that many of you do subconsciously. You don't even realize it. And we dismiss it and we just label it with things like, simple descriptors like deja vu or something like that, okay? But Elle is practicing remote viewing. She goes into a meditative trance. She wakes up in a black room, not a white room, okay, but a black room. This is the room that she's inside of, where she can reach out and she can remotely find another person. She can find another experience or another thing. The reason that she's able to go into this black room and connect to something else is because of the vector. Remember, the vector is a straight line, basically energy, that is moving in a particular direction. If she is inside the black room, that means all of that energy starts at her point of focus and goes outward, okay, leaving her in a black room. Therefore, all she has to do is resonate with that particular vector, with that particular line of energy. All she has to do is think about the target. Vector has a lot to do with the target as well. That's why I see the store target and things of that nature. But all she has to do is tap into that particular strand within the web, and she can vicariously sort of go through it and share the person's experience, okay? That's the black room. The black room is the room which shoots out all of the energy, shoots out all of the light. Another example of that is Under the Skin, I think is the movie Scarlett Johansson stars in Under the Skin. Now, Scarlett Johansson, you'll see that they use specific actors in all of these deeply esoteric movies. It's typically the same actor time and time again, like the guy who played in Avatar, the guy who played in Avatar also played in Alien in the movie Titan, which is highly esoteric. And he also played the part human, part robot with a personality complex and identity problem in the Terminator Salvation movie, right? So just look at the actors and the roles that they're playing, okay? It's all set up. It's all being done purposefully. But anyhow, so there is Under the Skin with Scarlett Johansson, and she starts off in a white room. I would recommend checking out the movie. There's a lot of, sexual innuendos and stuff, but it's a good movie, esoterically speaking. And she ends up in this black room. What she does is she seduces these men to come into this black room, and they end up drowning in this water. They become assimilated into the blackness, essentially, and they die. Okay, well, they don't really die. In the movie, the black room sort of siphons off their energy or whatnot. But the black room is directly related to those types of concepts, okay? I don't want to get too specific about it because I don't want to give everyone the answers. I don't want my channel to be one where people just come and they get all the answers and they figured it all out. That's not fun. It's not fun. Sorry. And I don't have all the answers to give you, so I couldn't even do it if I wanted to. I'm a truth seeker. I'm on my own path. I'm sharing it with you. But I'm a riddle master, and I love riddles, and I love giving the presentation and giving you guys the information and allowing yourselves to realize that you have this creative capacity to figure things out and to think outside of the box, to come up with your own connections, your own ideas, which, by the way, I love hearing all about. So I'm looking forward to seeing the comments on this particular video. And also, one thing I like to do is I like to go rewatch the chat. So everything that's said in the chat, I go and I watch it later on. So, don't think that I've missed something that you may have said in the chat, because I'll check it out later. So I think that's all I had. I believe that we had addressed all of the questions and everything. It's been an hour. I'm going to keep my live streams a little bit shorter unless needed. But do go check out my video on the time differential thing. And also go watch Black Mirror. There's an episode. I put a picture up of it. There's a little GIF picture or GIF, whatever it's called. But there's an episode where this woman, she gets her consciousness, right? Her personality, everything is transferred. It's copied from her brain. And for more on this, please go back and rewatch. I might have to repost it, but watch my video about the elite copying your consciousness, making a copy of your consciousness. And keep that in mind. But anyway, in this one episode of Black Mirror, this woman's consciousness is copied and it's transferred into this small egg, which is a sort of futuristic hypercomputer. And she wakes up in this pure white room and she can see the outside world. And basically, she is now waking up. And it's very interesting little presentation. So I would highly recommend checking that out. I do want to thank all of my sponsors, especially those of you who have stuck with me for the past month as I've been going through all kinds of emergencies and crisis and stuff in my life. Everything's getting much better. I can't wait. I'm looking forward to all the different videos that I'm going to be coming up with as well. With that being said, I'm going to go ahead and cut things short. I want to thank you guys for joining me, and I'll see you in a couple more weeks. And check out these outros, and we've got some credits to roll too. I'll see you guys later. Bye. Peace.
JayDreamerZ, think outside the box.